Eyewitness News presents Newsmakers with your hosts, Jayne and Bugda and Andy Mehalshick.
Hello and welcome to Newsmakers. I'm Andy Mehalshick.
And I'm Jayne Bugda. Today we are taking a closer look at the impact of gangs in our region, from crime and violence to their influence on young people.
The Interagency Council of Lackawanna County is hoping to open the conversation about gangs in our area and find solutions to our concerns. Coming up, meet our guests.
And our conversation begins when this edition of Newsmakers returns right after this. Welcome back to Newsmakers. I'm Jayne Bugda along with Andy Mehalshick, and we have a very interesting topic today because we're talking about the presence of gangs in our community and trying to find community solutions to that concern. And Andy, you know, we were talking not so long ago when we were kids, when you talked about gangs, we thought of big cities. Big city problem, but now it's here. Okay.
And back in the day, when young people or teens had fights, you may have had a physical altercation. At the end of the day, you were friends, but now you're seeing weapons being pulled, threats, social media fueling that anger sometimes. So we're talking about all gangs today, what's being done about it, and how you might be able to help out.
And we're going to talk about an upcoming conference with our guests. We are joined by Cindy Kennedy. She is the president of the Lackawanna Interagency Council. Maureen Maher-Grey, the executive director and founder of the NEPA Youth Shelter, and our friend Mark Powell, Lackawanna County District Attorney. Thank you for being here today. This is an important topic, and I think it not only touches Lackawanna County, but probably every region in our viewing area. So let's start first by giving us a little bit of a brief history of the Interagency Council. How did it all start and its mission?
Okay, so the Lackawanna Interagency Council has been around about 20 years. It is a coalition of member agencies that are health and human services within our community that provide services to our community members. And so our mission is to identify those agencies within our community. It's also to provide interaction with agency to agency to learn more about our programs, and also to provide education to our community on emerging issues that you may be seeing in the community as well. We all belong to several different agencies across the county. I represent the council with my agency, Maternal and Family Health. Maureen Maher through her youth shelter. We have Breadbasket. We have Serving Seniors, and many agencies like that who serve our community that get together on a regular basis every month, the third Wednesday of each month at the Salvation Army in Scranton at 9 o'clock, so we could share those opportunities with one another.
And what is the NEPA Youth Shelter? You founded, I believe, and what is it, and who is it open to?
Sure. So I founded the NEPA Youth Shelter back in 2016, and in 2017 we opened an after-school teen drop-in center specifically for high school age students only. And our center provides snack, hot dinner, food, clothing, shelter. Our shelter is a separate program, but in our center we also have games and activities, a recording studio, art. We have taken the kids on field trips before and such, so that they have a safe, supervised place to go after school that is free from bullying, and where kids can explore what their options are after high school. We also have a housing program, which is for young people 18 to 21 who are literally homeless, and we help them for up to a year financially and with a case manager to help learn how to adult in the world so that they're prepared when they step out into the adult world.
You know, where do these young people come from that come to you that are looking for a place to stay, a meal?
Interestingly enough, I get calls from all over the county, and I've actually had external county contacts call me looking for housing. I get calls from caseworkers at hospitals who have patients who are still inpatient because there's no available housing for their young person who needs to be discharged. I get calls from children and youth. I get calls from caseworkers from other counties, and I've had people just call me directly and say, I heard about you from a friend. What can you do for me? So that's for our housing program.
And I think sometimes Lackawanna County D.A. Mark Powell, you don't sleep at all, right? It's 24/7 because you're involved in so many proactive, besides prosecuting crime, proactive events in the area in Lackawanna County. How did you get involved with this group, and what is your role with the agency, and especially when it comes to gangs?
Yeah, so this is not something law enforcement alone can solve, and we have to reach out to our community partners for help. So it really needs to be addressed from a prevention standpoint, and that's where these community services can engage in activities to strengthen the family, educate children, support the schools. Intervention to identify high risks and get services towards those individuals who need help, whether that's drug rehabilitation, mental health support, and then enforcement. So it's really a combination of all three, and we welcome their assistance and candidly work well together with these agencies to try to solve the problem.
And Mark, right from the get-go, in the day, the word gangs is almost like taboo. You didn't say gangs. Well, they don't exist in northeastern Pennsylvania. We know they do. We were talking about this before air. Give us a basic status of gangs in NEPA, specifically Lackawanna County. What are we talking about, and how prevalent are they?
Yeah, so it's really not a new problem. They have been around a while, but what we have seen is an increase in violent activity with illegal guns and weapons that are used more frequently. And COVID seemed to escalate some of the activities of the gang. So they're targeting younger individuals to become gang members. Oftentimes that involves juveniles. And the gang problem is they're becoming more aggressive in their efforts. So the problem is certainly on the top of everybody's mind now, but it has been progressively getting worse over time, and it's not just necessarily a problem that happened overnight. On the same token, it's not going to be solved quickly. It's going to take this group effort, and it's going to take time and resources to address the issue.
When we think of young people, we see these teens and they're so innocent going to school, and what would attract them to get involved with gangs?
Yeah, so there are a lot of reasons.
Toward you.
Yeah, there are a lot of reasons. I mean, I think it's social acceptance. It's strength or power. It's for protection. But there are a lot of reasons why people choose to get involved in this type of activity. And if we can direct those same concerns with other positive activities, we can divert them from illegal activity and promote good community service and activity to put them on the correct path.
And we were mentioning, Maureen, you were saying about kids looking for shelter. How easy is it for a young person to fall through the cracks?
Oh, it's very easy. As you're well aware that the school district, 80% of the students qualify for free or reduced lunch, which means they start from a level of poverty. A lot of their parents, especially during COVID, were essential workers and had to report to their jobs, which left the teenagers at home, alone, unsupervised, sometimes taking care of younger siblings, usually not. They had to, attendance at school was simply clicking a button on the laptop, and then they would just do whatever they wanted, because it was difficult to have accountability with the school, and so they're free roaming, and they run into and they're, as we all know, teenagers are very friend driven, very social group driven. So whatever their group is doing, that's what they're going to do. There's not a lot of, I can say personally from our center, we don't have a lot of parental involvement or interaction. In 6 years, we've had maybe 10 parents cross our threshold. And I had exchanged words with one parent who was upset about something, and interaction with her child who was wearing gang colors, and she was not concerned at all about the gang aspect. And I said that was what concerned me, and that's why her child was no longer allowed at our teen center. So there's lots and lots of variables that go into it. Poor education, unstable family situations, unstable housing, especially during COVID when rents started to go up. Families started gathering 15 people into an apartment because that's what they could afford, which any time you put a bunch of people together in one spot, there's bound to be sparks. So teens try to escape that, and they're emerging adults, and they don't have always good role models to teach them how to be good adults. And so that's one thing we try to do at our center.
Maureen, you were saying before about how you saw signs of trouble. What were some of those signs, and what did you do about it? How did you handle it? Because that's got to be a real tense situation, or could be a tense situation.
Sure. We noticed that some boys particularly were coming in wearing particular color of blue. Just for example, I'll say Cindy's color here. And first it was just 1 or 2, and then the next day there were 3, then the next day there were 5, and we have a sign-in sheet, and we noticed that they all used the same last name of Blue, B-L-U. Oh, he's my brother. Oh, he's my cousin. You know, it's like, yeah, no, guys. And so one of my trained volunteers pointed out some other elements of their behavior and their clothing and such that was, in his experience, was clearly gang related. And so I reached out to law enforcement and I said, I think I'm getting a problem. How do I solve it? And I had great communications with local law enforcement and state police, and they gave me some terrific tools and a great perspective on how to make sure that the gangs know they're not welcome without making myself a target, because they're very rule oriented in their gangs. And so as long as I make it about the rules, they can respect that. Even if they don't like it, they have to respect it, because that's how the gangs work. And so I was never a target of any sort of activity, but I said, these are the rules. You're not following the rules, there's the door. And that's how we got rid of them.
Well, one of the missions and objectives of your agency, the Interagency Council, is to bring together groups to try to come up with solutions for the community, and you have an upcoming conference coming up. Tell us a little bit about what you hope to achieve.
Yeah, so our next conference coming up is part 2 of our gang violence conference, and this one is to find community solutions, to bring together everyone to talk about the issue, to talk about what's being done and what is needed in our community based on our experts that are sitting here with us here, D.A. Powell and of course Maureen, and seeing what we can do to help support them in finding solutions. Our county, our legislature as well, our county commissioners are working hard on this and finding new ways. And so we're bringing in speakers who can help address that problem. One of our speakers for the conference, which is going to be on October 9th from 8 to noon at St. Mary's Center in Scranton, Tiffany Lowe, who is a gang violence motivator and expert who worked in York County. And she is going to talk about how they help resolve some of the gang issues in York County. So she's going to provide that information. And then we're also going to have Dr. Verdon Lucas is also speaking on DEI, diversity and inclusion, because that's certainly part of the issue with a lot of the gangs as well, understanding our community and the diversity and the equity within gangs as well. So it's going to be a good follow-up to our original conference, which was understanding what gang violence was. Now we're going to look at community solutions and how we can help support all of these people who are working with the issue at hand. So.
And I would think, though, even though it's a different county, and when Mark's talked before about the basic reasons for kids getting into gangs are the same wherever you live. I mean, no support at home, the need to make money, the need to belong. So just like law enforcement, Mark, that there's crossover, and you can learn from what is successful someplace else. Yes. It may not be one size fits all, but you can learn from that.
Yeah, we don't have to reinvent the wheel. There are models that work, and we have to follow those models. We may need to adjust them for Lackawanna County and be specific to our needs, but there are proven models out there that we need to follow and implement.
When you look at talking to children about gangs, is there an age we should begin saying, you know, beware? I mean, you're going to shock me with this number, right? Yeah, I think
so. You know, any type of education has to be age appropriate, but it's almost no age is too young to start providing these type of services and support. So we are seeing very young gang members being initiated, and they would be, young teenagers. So I would leave that to the educators who are more skilled in that area, but I think it's how you deliver the message, not a choice not to deliver the message.
And Cindy, talking about the agencies you work with specifically, are they surprised with like after your first part one of the conference? Were they surprised what they heard? Were they yearning for more information about gangs and the presence and the reasons they're forming?
Yeah, I think they were. I think they weren't surprised that they knew it was happening, but I don't think they had all the information they needed to understand why it was happening and to what depth it was happening. And we certainly didn't have the understanding of everything that was already being done. There was so much being done, particularly in the city of Scranton, around this issue. That we really welcomed hearing from all of our officials about what they were doing. But like D.A. Powell did say, it takes a village. It takes a lot of community partners. We understand there's an issue, but we know that if we work together, because we're out there in the public, all the agencies that belong to Lackawanna Interagency Council are working with families in the community, from young mothers, I know with our agency, are just having a child and raising their young families. And there's housing insecurity and food insecurity. We see that across all our agencies. That all plays into the fact that these issues are happening, because there's so many insecurities out there today. So we hope that together we be able to understand the issue and work with each other to help each other find a good resolution.
The conference coming up in October, which I'm honored,
Yes.
I was proud to be asked to be moderated. I'm assuming that young people are school districts are being invited, they're part
Yes.
of the process, and young people, because they deal with it probably more than anybody on a daily basis in school.
Yes.
Or in school-related activities.
Yes, absolutely. And Maureen is going to be there as a part of our panel, as well as D.A. Mark Powell and many others from the school district. And Maureen's going to bring some of her youth, if possible, as well. We reach out to the University of Scranton, to their criminology and justice educational department, invite them as well to participate and to learn more about this and how they can also help. And we talked a lot about mentorship, the need for male mentorship. And I know Ty Holmes, who works in the Scranton School District and with D.A. Powell, has been working on that as well. And just having someone out there that they can mentor them, they can look up to, that may have that void within their family, that they can have someone to help with that.
Well, we are going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll continue our conversation. You can find information on today's show on pahomepage.com. We are under the Newsmakers link, and you are watching Newsmakers. We are a proud recipient of 3 Pennsylvania Association of Broadcasting Awards for Excellence in Public Affairs Programming, and now 2 Keystone State Awards for Best Talk Show in the state, and we'll be back right after this.
And welcome back to Newsmakers. Andy Mehalshick along with Jayne and Bugda. Our special guest today, Cindy Kennedy, President of the Lackawanna Interagency Council, Maureen Maher-Grey, Executive Director of and founder of NEPA Youth Shelter, and Mark Powell, of course, Lackawanna County District Attorney. Our topic today, key topic, people are talking about all over the region, especially in NEPA, gang violence, gang influence on our children, our youth, and what's being done about it. Big conference coming up in October. So Mark, you were saying, just to go back to square one, law enforcement just can't wave a magic wand and make this go away. It's going to take a lot of people being involved in this, including parents.
It does, and that's the great thing about the agency, because there's information sharing. You put faces to names so that lines of communication are then open in the future, and you discover the common effort, but also not duplicating efforts, so that we can kind of break down those barriers and all work together. So it doesn't necessarily require me in law enforcement to be a psychologist or someone dealing with individuals in that level, but I need to be open-minded to that, because I know that's a resource to help. So law enforcement is open-minded, but focuses on holding these individuals who commit violent crimes accountable. But we are wide open to trying to prevent the problem in the beginning, and that's something really outside of law enforcement's capabilities.
And you mentioned communication, and a lot of our communities are now blended. So is there an opportunity for those who maybe speak Spanish or something for also to get involved, to understand, you know, we need to get that part of our communities involved as well?
Yeah, certainly. We have member agencies that belong to the council, the Hispanic Justice Project. We have Marywood Stars, who works with Hispanic youth, furthering education. Our vice president is Pedro Añez, who is a very public member of the Latino community and works in our community in many different venues. And we invite all diverse agencies to join us, like the ones that are already a part of our council, so they can also bring their expertise and their background to help us as well.
Yeah.
And how do we keep young people engaged so they don't venture out to maybe seek friendships that can be destructive?
It's offering them an alternative, right? At our center, we have as many activities as we could imagine that they would want, and we also survey them every year. What do you want? And we try to make it happen for them. So it's giving them an alternative as a place to go. And I'm so thrilled that West Side got a teen center this summer, and Outreach also got a teen program this summer, because there's more than enough kids to go around for everybody. I would encourage other communities to look at creating teen centers in near their own schools, because when they have an alternative, they choose it. You know, we have 40 to 50 kids who will come to us every day instead of stay out on the street and get mixed up in things like that. So, and that's a choice they're making. It's not their parents telling them to come. It's their personal choice.
And you were mentioning before, talking about parents, their involvement is crucial to everything for young people, for sure.
Yes.
And we've heard complaints, and maybe anecdotally, of parents today aren't as involved as they were maybe when we were growing up in our generation. But how do you get parents engaged? And you were saying before about how one mother said, I don't care about the gangs. But how do you get parents engaged, and what age should they, those watching now, should they talk about to their kids about gangs and gun violence? I mean, it's too late when they're already in their living room wearing colors and talking about being part of a gang.
Yeah, I really wish I knew the answer to that question, but I don't. As I said, we've had very few interactions with adults, with parents. And I know other agencies that work with teens have the same issue. Parents will, if they show up, they drop off and they leave. They don't stay at like when I had a young child, I would always go in and talk to my kid's teacher or the daycare provider to make sure everything was good. But today, parents don't, and I don't know why. That's just not my nature, but that's why I'm even more resolved to make sure that our teen center is a safe and supervised with background clearances on all of our adults, so that we know we've got a safe place for them.
Because you can't control that.
Yes, I can
By
control that.
setting rules.
Yeah. Right.
And thank goodness you're there for those teens who need that guidance and who need that support. Do you work with other counties? I know we're showing this today, and maybe there's somebody sitting at home in another county leader looking at this thinking, we'd like to get involved, we'd like to help and join forces.
So certainly in the Northeast region, there's information sharing, and we work hand in hand with our local counties that border us, because we deal with individuals who cross county lines. We also look towards other counties who have successful programs to kind of learn from their mistakes, their successes and their mistakes, but to try to not have to start from scratch, but to start a building block and make it better. So there is a lot of communication. There's communication within different police forces. So just in Lackawanna County, we deal with multiple police organizations, the state police, Scranton police, the various municipalities, the Lackawanna County Prison. There's a great degree of information sharing amongst those agencies, which is critically important as well. So the answer is yes, and we're all stronger as a result of it.
Mark, you were mentioning before air, when people think about gangs, you think about the Bloods and the Crips. If you can, whatever you can reveal, are they locally, do they still connect with those kind of folks? Or is it mostly locally homegrown? They make up their gangs.
Yeah, so they are the adult gangs that are most prevalent in the Northeast region. The juvenile gangs go by different names, and there are a multitude of different names that they use, but they are loosely associated with both the Bloods and the Crips, and they're gangs nonetheless. So it's not necessarily this disorganized group and a couple people coming up with a nickname. They are intelligent. They share information. They learn from their peers. Unfortunately, they're learning a lot of bad information on how to commit crimes successfully. So it is very much a gang atmosphere where they are sharing intelligence to work against law enforcement and commit crimes.
And our community can learn more, and we're beginning to wrap up here. It's such a fascinating conversation, but at the conference coming up October 9th, Andy will be there moderating, great speakers. We have information on pahomepage.com on how you can sign up to join in and learn more with the Interagency Council, Lackawanna County. So Cindy, Maureen, and
Thank you.
Mark, thank you so much for being here today and doing what you do. For everyone behind the scenes, and Andy Mehalshick, I'm Jayne Bugda. Thank you so much for making Newsmakers part of your day. Check us out on pahomepage.com under the Newsmakers link, and we'll talk again next time.